Ve son olarak ıslak mekan ve yangın güvenliği çözümlerini aktarmak adına John Nelson'ı sahneye davet ediyorum. Arkasından siz değerli konuklarımızın soruları olacaktır mutlaka. Konuşmacılarımız burada sorularınızı almak istiyorlar. Buyurun.
Thank you. Thank you. Here we are again. Okay, so in the first part of what I had to say to you today, I was hopefully not making you really concerned about design, but sure we need to be very aware of getting things right in every area of the building, but certainly in the fire protection areas. So really I'd like to now just talk a little bit about the Saint-Gobain solutions that we have in the area of fire protection. So, you know, fundamentally, why is gypsum such an effective material in fire? And I guess really the key to it is this bit here. You know, I'm sure you recognise that as being water. And the reason that it is such a good material in fire is that something like nearly 80% of 20% of it is chemically combined water. So the chemical formulation of gypsum is calcium sulfate dihydrate, which is two molecules of water. So in fact we often refer to it as nature's own sprinkler system. So it is a naturally good material in terms of providing fire protection, and is in fact inert below the temperature of 1200 degrees C. But above that we see this water loss, and we end up with something that is going to help us put the fire out. So it gradually absorbs heat and releases water vapor, and then calcination, as we call it, starts to take place, and gradually through the layer of gypsum. So it's a gradual process of the degradation, and during that process we're already starting to have an effect on the fire that may already be broken out in the building. One of the other things I would say to you is that we do an awful lot of fire testing of our solutions, and in fact the actual testing that is done in accredited laboratories, and therefore whatever we say about our systems in terms of their performance, we really mean it, and in fact we provide guaranteed performance of what we're doing. In fact, the example there of a fire book is a piece of literature that we have in several countries that gives a complete compendium of the solutions that we have for fire protection, and we will always guarantee the performance because we will have tested it in the vast majority of cases. There are one or two assessments, but these would have been done by the accredited authorities. So in terms of the material itself, as I mentioned in the first part of the talk that I gave, is that this is very much a description of the fire performance of the material itself. So these are Euroclass standards for reaction to fire, and is a feature of really the material itself, is primarily the surface of the material. So in the case of this product, which we call glass rock, which is a GRG type board, glass fibre reinforced gypsum board, so no paper content, the surface there is what we have is the very highest classification. In fact, it really will not have any effect on the fire that may already be in the building. So that one is classified A1. And then all of our other plaster boards, the regular plaster boards, the fire plaster boards, the moisture resistant boards, oops, sorry, go back one. They will be classified A2. So would have very minimal contribution to fire growth. And again, we will have done Euroclass testing for all of our materials. I mentioned again about the structural fire protection, so the protection of the structure. Maybe a number of your buildings are built in concrete frame. which is certainly a way of constructing buildings. We would suggest a more modern method of constructing buildings these days that is coming into so many other countries for speed of construction. And if you're designing a new hotel, why would you want to wait 2 years for it to be completed when it could be completed in maybe half that time, or certainly 2/3 of that time? And maybe a lightweight steel frame building is a good way of putting pace into construction. Therefore, the protection of the structure, we offer a number of solutions, but I guess the most popular is using this glass rock material, which is a non-combustible gypsum board. It's self-finished. It is also a material that requires no framing, so you can actually fit one board to the other and create the fire protection that you require. This is what they call an HP over A or an A over V table, which is a feature of the property of the steel itself and the amount of area that you need to protect of the steelwork. And these tables are actually contained in all of our literature. It's a very fast way of deciding what thickness of material is required for the level of protection, whether it be 30 minutes up to maybe even 3 or 4 hours protection, and exactly what specification of encasement is required for each type of steel section. So it's a very simple way of designing steelwork protection. I guess I'm probably repeating ourselves a little bit here, but as they always say, tell it once and then just tell it again to make sure everybody understands. But, you know, really the benefits of drywall construction are so accomplished, really. The fact that you're reducing wet trades on site, much shorter building program, this very fast return on investment, which all of our clients and investors are so interested in these days. And it's so much suited to modern methods of construction, very lightweight, reduced design of the superstructure and cost, thinner walls, more floor space to use. But also, we can certainly provide you with guaranteed levels and performance levels of fire protection, sound insulation, also moisture control and durability. And certainly in the areas of drywall partitions, options for the very simple system of a single layer of plasterboard on a small steel frame would give 30 minutes, and then rising up to even 4 hours protection. We have some of the more sophisticated walls, maybe subdividing multi-screen cinemas, for example. People often say, how could I ever do that in anything other than concrete walls? Well, in fact, I would say that the majority of multi-screen cinemas that are built in many countries actually contain drywall solutions. They are the better way of constructing those division walls, not only for high acoustics, but also high fire performance. And using both regular plasterboards and fire plasterboards, whether it be the number of layers of boards, the type of framing that's used, whether it's mineral wool, stone wool in the cavity, these all will have different effects on the overall fire performance, and in fact is very much a feature of the systems that we offer. I would say that if there's one question that I think I've probably been asked more times than I can care to imagine is, what is the fire resistance of your plasterboard? Well, actually, it doesn't really apply. It's actually the fire resistance of the total construction. The individual material itself really doesn't provide fire resistance. So you couldn't say that we sell a 30-minute fire plasterboard or a 60-minute fire plasterboard. It is a feature of the system, of the construction, when you're talking about the resistance of fire. Just to mention an initiative from our colleagues here in Rigips is this collaboration with Isojan, with the in-wall system, where they are working together with their colleagues in another Saint-Gobain company, Isojan, who I'm sure you know are manufacturers and suppliers of glass and stone wool products. So the two organizations working together to have one brand of in-wall where they're providing smart wall solutions with reliable performance levels for fire and acoustics. And certainly providing very good value-added solutions that give you customization of exactly what you need to have in whichever very specific area of the building that you need it. And of course, including the various architectural details, which are always very important. The devil is always in the detail. And then as far as ceilings are concerned, providing this compartmentation, making sure that the fire spread doesn't go between floors, also protection to the structure that might be buried behind a suspended ceiling, so protection to the structure as well, and also to prevent fire spread between intercommunicating cavities. I remember many years ago there was a very bad fire in one part of the UK, where it was, I think it's referred to as the Summerlands disaster, and it's many, many years ago. But all too often, new fire regulations come out of a disaster, and it's really unfortunate that sometimes we have to encounter a disaster before we make a change. And this was certainly the case in the Summerlands fire, where unfortunately what happened was that a fire broke out in one part of the building. It was a leisure complex building, and it broke through the ceiling plenum, the ceiling void, and spread unobstructed around the ceiling void, and then eventually broke out down into the various compartments very quickly. And all of a sudden you had an unmanageable fire in this leisure building. So, you know, what we then found was that compartmentation and cavity barriers, preventing fire spread in concealed areas of the building is also extremely important. Demountable systems, again, used extensively, and of course for maintenance, getting into the ceiling void to maintain sprinklers and air conditioning units and so on. Very, very important. But of course, can you be absolutely certain that whoever is doing the maintenance puts the ceiling tile back, clips it into place, and so on? So in areas where you need high levels of fire resistance, it's certainly better to have more monolithic ceilings and provide access traps into the ceilings. Moving on from fire to, let's say, a little more softer area, but nevertheless just as important, is in the sort of wet areas of buildings, also the durability of drywall systems. We have a number of solutions now in the gypsum activity, ranging from, I guess, the green plasterboard, which I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, where we put additives into regular plasterboard to resist the passage of moisture and to have a gypsum board that is less susceptible to moisture. But then also we have a cement board that is essentially inert to water. You could put cement boards in water and they would be absolutely unaffected. The problem all too often with cement boards, and ours is maybe slightly different, is that they do absorb a lot of water. So they're unaffected themselves, but they can allow the passage of water into more vulnerable areas of the structure. So that's something to be aware of. But then a new material that we've recently launched, a derivative of the GRG, glass fibre reinforced gypsum board, Glassrock H, which is a material without paper content and a very high level of moisture resistance. So not only do we have a good level of moisture protection, but also improved resistance to mold. So I would suggest a new material from Saint-Gobain Regips, and one that I would certainly recommend for use in these kind of applications. Very detailed slide, maybe not something to read now, but really what we're saying here is for the different types of application in wet areas, ranging from very simple residential applitions right through to the use in the most challenging wet areas, perhaps around the swimming pool or sauna or wet room areas, then ranging from green plasterboards right through to the Aquarock cement board. We have a range of solutions that can be used that we would give you guaranteed performance. As I mentioned earlier, the attraction of glass rock here is that it is a gypsum board and is very easy to use. One of the things of cement boards is that they do absorb a lot of water, but they also are quite difficult to cut and handle on a construction site. So this material absorbs less than 5% moisture over 2 hours, and also has got lower organic content and therefore not susceptible to mold growth. So a very, very good material to use in wet areas. In terms of high durability, I guess it's one of the perceptions that we often experience in countries where perhaps there isn't the level of adoption of drywall systems, is the lack of durability, or the perceived lack of durability. And we're very conscious of that. So we certainly do an awful lot of testing with big sandbags and high impactors, even a simulated kick test, to sort of demonstrate that, really we do work very hard to develop products with high durability. So this is a very high density board with additives in the core to just give greater strength. So in areas of use such as corridors or public space areas, then we do also have gypsum boards that provide much greater levels of durability. And at the same time, because they are of higher density, they usually give much better levels of acoustic performance as well. I guess another challenge that we often experience is things like fixtures into the surface of drywall systems. And once again, making sure that we've got the right support mechanisms for sanitary fixings, use of pattresses, wooden support behind the areas where you're going to fix heavy fixtures. But what I'm also pleased to say is that this is a product that we've been working on now for a little time. It's not available yet, but is going to be available maybe later this year, is a special type of gypsum board that will actually support anchorages into the surface. So something that would eliminate these type of options in the future. So hopefully another useful innovation that we can bring to the market here. But I think it's also as much about getting the right kind of fixing devices, doing the right kind of detailing for socket outlets and so on. And these are all the kind of things that really we should be able to help you with, and we're there very much to help you, to ensure that we can actually have good supporting of fixings and fixtures onto the surface of drywall systems. Okay, so to move towards a conclusion now, and I hope you've enjoyed and found it interesting, the things that we've talked about today. But just a few reference projects that we're pleased and very proud to have been associated with in other countries. Hotel projects, so a Novotel project in Bangkok where we were very much involved in the use of drywall systems. Shangri-La project in Mumbai. I've been to Mumbai many times, but I don't think I've stayed in this hotel. Maybe I should. But another very interesting project using drywall systems, very interesting interior design that lended itself to the flexibility of using drywall. The Sheraton in Huzhou, I'm not even sure I know where that is, but it's a very spectacular building. Oh, in China. Interesting. Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. Very, very spectacular buildings these are. Hotel projects that visually are amazing. But I would say also inside very, very functional. Okay, so really to move towards an absolute conclusion, 10 aspects that I would say are very much should be top of mind when designing hotels. As Werner said very eloquently earlier, sound insulation, really, really important. For clients staying in hotels to have a good night's sleep and feel as though they've been properly refreshed, feel as though they've not stayed away from home, absolutely ready for the day ahead. So sound insulation is really important. Room acoustics, to get the balance between reflective sound and sound absorption so that you feel happy to be in that space, is also really, really important. And really try not to get those two terms confused. Sound insulation is about stopping sound going from one space to another. Room acoustics or sound absorption is dealing with the sound within that space. Both are equally important, but they are both very, very different. One is about more heavyweight materials, one is about sound absorbing and lightweight materials. Safety for people, so making sure that fire protection is very much top of mind to ensure that the guests are able to safely alight from a building should there be, unfortunately, a fire within that building, but also protect your client's investment. Have a healthy indoor climate. So active air, another product that we make available, is also a way of excuse me, providing a very healthy environment. The fact that, as our friend mentioned earlier, the aesthetics, the flexibility of drywall solutions gives you all kinds of design possibilities. Durability of many systems and reducing the amount of maintenance. Optimize project costs by reducing structural costs elsewhere is really something that we believe that we can offer to your tools, if you like, of design. Sustainability, we're very proud of the sustainable approach that we have in the gypsum activity. It's a very natural material, used in a very efficient way. We spend a lot of time and effort on reducing energy costs, and therefore that's having a very positive effect on the environment. And for sure, these materials are available today. We're very, very happy to supply you, and of course the performance will always be guaranteed. I thank you very much indeed. You've come out in such marvellous numbers today. We're very, very happy for you to have been here, and I hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you.
Tekrar merhabalar. Konuşmacılarımıza sorularınız var mı acaba? Zamanımız var, birkaç soru alabiliriz. Ve sorunuz kime olacak onu da belki söylersiniz ya da hepsi... Tamam. Kendinizi de tanıtır mısınız?
Necati Küçüktaban.
Do I have a... Excuse me. Yes, okay.
Alçının özellikleri konusunda hemfikiriz. Ancak uygulamada beni tereddüte düşüren bir konu oldu. Bu da alçıyı uyguladık duvarlarımıza ve bunların üzerine, onun için alçıyı çıplak olarak kullanmıyoruz. Bunların üzerine dekoratif amaçlı çeşitli uygulamalar yapıyoruz. En basitinden boyalar sürüyoruz. Yangın esnasında bu boyaların etkinliğini bu alçı paneller ne kadar önleyebiliyor veya pozitif etkisi ne olabiliyor bir yangın halinde? Benim sorum bu.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, surface treatment can have an effect. Certainly, I wouldn't say surface treatment wouldn't have a particular effect on the fire resistance of the construction, because as soon as the paint or even the plasterboard surface has burnt away, you still have good fire protection within the construction. But in terms of the surface itself, what we describe as the reaction or the fire propagation, then clearly be careful in specifying any kind of paints that are likely to contribute to the fire. I would say that the majority of commercially available paints, in my experience, don't tend to be something that would contribute to the fire load of the building. So I wouldn't be too concerned about that, but just really, I suppose, be sure that whatever you're putting onto the surface, say it's a flammable material on the surface, it could, I wouldn't say it would have an effect on the fire resistance, but it could have effect on the fire propagation, how the fire might continue to grow within that area. That's the question? Yes. Okay, thank you. Fine.
I would like to ask the joint problem, especially for the water insulation, when you are realizing putting the panels. Joint, floor and ceiling.
Yes. Am I mic'd up still? Am I? Can you still? Yes, you can. Yes, design is really important. So we would give very clear detailing at the bottom, where you're actually putting a cloaking membrane into the sort of the area where you would stand the bath trap or the shower trap. So to have the detailing there. The surface of the boards also has a water shedding capability. So particularly the Glassrock H product has actually got a treatment on the surface that actually means the water runs off the surface. In fact, if you were to put the product on the surface and put water on it, it would just sit there on the top. It doesn't absorb it, doesn't go into it, so it actually runs off it. So to have the detailing at the bottom, where you actually put in a skirt that actually stops, then takes that water into the basin. Okay. Of course, all of us are going to be around for some little time afterwards, so if you'd like to just come up to us and say hello, that would be nice. But if you want to say hello and ask a question, we'd be very delighted to hopefully give you a good answer.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Evet, tekrar huzurlarınızda konuşmacılarımıza teşekkür ediyoruz. Siz değerli katılımcılarımıza da ilginiz için teşekkür ediyoruz. Rigips bu toplantı düzenleyerek umarız güzel bir adım attı. Akılcı otel çözümleriyle bu problemlerin daha görünür kılınması ve detayların çözülmesi adına. Şimdi sizleri keyifli bir kokteyle bekliyoruz. İkram alanınıza buyurun. Afiyet olsun. İyi akşamlar.